line quality exercise that we will do is about implied line. So implied line is just like how it sounds. It's line that is implied. We already knew that, so let's take a look at some ideas. So here we've got the drawings of the apples. Let's really talk about implied line because I think that this is actually one of the nicest ways to engage your viewer. So the idea of implied line is that you have a line that starts and then stops and then picks up again. So it's within that area where it stops and then the gap is there and then it picks up again, that this line actually really actively engages your viewer. Their brain and their eyes have to fill in that line. And so it winds up being a really nice device to use to create some engagement with your viewer because it makes it more interesting for them. If the line were there and spelled out directly like this, it's just not nearly as interesting as when there's a line and a gap and then a line. So this is more interesting than this is, and it's going to captivate your viewer for longer. Here are two examples. This one is the Tombow Homograph Mono, and I used a 2B for that type of pencil. And then this one is the Caran d'Ache colored pencil. And so you can do that in a really quick sketch with any of your drawing materials. So that's really nice. Let's take a look at some other examples. We have here, got some eraser crumbs on there. One of the chicken drawings that I did when I was out with the Urban Sketchers. Again, Urban Sketchers is an international organization and you should be able to find a group of people drawing out and about in your city. So this was another chicken that I wanted to draw real quickly, and you can see, I'm going to point with the eraser. So right in here, there's some gaps in the lines right there. There's a gap in the tail feathers. There's some gaps in the face, and it just, those lines being sort of trailed off real delicately makes it a more interesting movement-filled image. Here's another image that I did of a fern leaf or a branch, and so you can see that here not every single line in the branch and the leaf is defined. There's some implication that there are more lines there, but the viewer has a little bit more sense of the delicateness and has a little bit more to engage with in order to look at this. Here's another drawing that I did with students when I was teaching at the Art Museum here in Austin. There's a really great little school that is a beautiful woodsy campus, and there's this old historic villa on the campus that was donated to the museum. So here you can see that I did some watercolor washes and I defined the tree a little bit with outlines with a pencil, but I actually went back in with the micron pen and put in some pen and ink here, and not every line connects. So there's some implied line within that because I wanted a little bit of definition to the building, but I didn't want it to be overly defined. Lastly, we've got one more to look at, and this one, I've got eraser crumbs on all of these. This one was also drawn out with the Urban Sketchers. This was at the Lady Bird Wildflower Center here in Austin, which is a botanical garden. And this one, you can see that I was drawing a series of columns that went back in perspective, and not all of the columns are equally defined. So in the front, I tried to define them a little bit more. In the back, I put some lighter lines. There's some gaps and wiggles and ways that you need to connect those lines in order to keep engaging with the volumes as they move back in space. So again, implied line can be really easy to use. I probably use this one the most, honestly, just because it's really kind of fun to start and stop and to lift your pencil some places and press harder in other places. So you can kind of think of this like it's related to the varied thickness or the varied value of your line, but it's also intentionally leaving gaps so that your viewer can engage and fill in those gaps. So hopefully that helps you guys out and it gives you some good ideas, and let me know how it goes. Thank you all so much for watching. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel, LZM Studio, where I frequently release quick tips and all kinds of different ideas about drawing. Also check out my Facebook and my Instagram page. I like to show photographs of my artwork, of my students' artwork, and share funny stories from my students on those pages. And then check out my website, lzmstudio.com, where you're going to find more inspiration and full-length, detailed tutorials.